The biggest mistake you could make today is spending a 1942 Lincoln Wheat penny without looking at it first. One tiny detail could turn an ordinary-looking penny into a coin worth thousands of dollars, and in extremely rare cases, even more. Most people think a penny is just 1 cent. They toss it into a jar, leave it in a cup holder, or hand it over as change without a second thought. But collectors know something that most people don't. Hidden among millions of old coins are a few incredible treasures that can completely change the value of an ordinary penny. And today, we're talking about one of the most fascinating coins in American history, the 1942 Abraham Lincoln Wheat penny with no mint mark. Before you assume yours isn't worth anything, stay with me until the end because the final detail is the one that separates a 1-cent coin from a collector's dream. The 1942 Lincoln Wheat penny was produced during one of the most important years in American history. The United States had just entered World War II, and the demand for metals was exploding. Copper was becoming a strategic material used to produce ammunition, electrical wiring, and military equipment. That makes 1942 a fascinating transition year in American coin history. Millions of pennies were struck in Philadelphia during 1942, and those coins carry no mint mark below the date. At first glance, they all look nearly identical. Abraham Lincoln appears on the front, while 2 wheat stalks decorate the reverse. Nothing seems unusual. But appearances can be very misleading. Some 1942 no mint mark pennies have hidden characteristics that collectors spend years searching for. The first thing to check is the overall condition. A worn-out coin that has spent decades in circulation may only be worth a few cents. But if your coin still has its original reddish color, sharp details in Lincoln's hair, and crisp wheat lines on the reverse, you're already looking at something much more desirable. Collectors love original mint red examples because they survived more than 80 years without heavy circulation. Now here's where things become much more interesting. Many people believe all 1942 pennies are common. They're only partially correct. While millions were produced, very few remain in flawless condition. Professional grading services use a scale from poor 1 all the way to mint state 70. Every tiny mark, scratch, or fingerprint can lower a coin's grade dramatically. Imagine 2 pennies made on the same day. One spent decades passing through cash registers. The other was carefully stored in a collection since 1942. Even though they're the same coin, their values could be hundreds, or even thousands, of dollars apart. That's why collectors always say condition is king. But we're just getting started. Let's talk about one detail that many people completely overlook. Minting errors. These mistakes happen during production and often create coins that are much rarer than normal examples. One of the most exciting errors is the doubled die. Look closely at the lettering, especially the words, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date. If the letters appear doubled instead of sharp and single, you could have a valuable error variety. Another possibility is an off-center strike. If the design is shifted noticeably while the full date remains visible, collectors often pay significant premiums. Then there are clipped planchets, die cracks, lamination errors, and dramatic strike-through errors. Every one of these mistakes tells a story from the U.S. Mint itself. Instead of making a coin less valuable, these production errors often make it far more collectible. Now here's something that surprises many new collectors. Some people confuse the 1942 copper penny with another famous wartime rarity. In 1943, the U.S. Mint switched from bronze to zinc-coated steel pennies to save copper for the war effort. However, a tiny number of 1943 bronze pennies were accidentally struck using leftover bronze planchets. Those coins have sold for astonishing amounts because they are among the rarest Lincoln cents ever discovered. So why does that matter for a 1942 penny? Because 1942 came immediately before that historic change. Collectors often study 1942 coins closely since they represent the final full year before the famous steel cent appeared. That historical importance adds another layer of demand. Now let's discuss something that can quietly increase value without most people realizing it. Color. Lincoln Wheat pennies are generally classified into 3 color categories: brown, red-brown, and red. A fully original red coin with bright mint luster is significantly scarcer than a brown example that circulated for decades. Sometimes two coins receive the exact same numerical grade. Yet the red coin may sell for several times more simply because of its preserved original color. That's why experts recommend never cleaning old coins. Cleaning removes original surfaces and often destroys collector value. Many people think they're improving a coin by making it shiny. In reality, they may be wiping away hundreds or even thousands of dollars in potential value. If you think you found an old wheat penny, leave it exactly as it is. Natural aging is usually much better than artificial shine. Now let's talk numbers. An average circulated 1942 Philadelphia wheat penny with no mint mark might only sell for a small premium over face value. A better preserved example can easily reach several dollars. High-grade mint state coins may climb into the hundreds. The finest certified examples with exceptional eye appeal have sold for several $1,000s at auction. That's already an incredible jump from a 1-cent coin. But what about the million-dollar question? Can a 1942 no-mint mark Lincoln wheat penny really be worth $1 million? The truth is important. A normal 1942 no-mint mark wheat penny is not known to sell for $1 million by itself. However, extraordinarily rare mint errors, unique discoveries, or one-of-a-kind combinations of elite condition and exceptional rarity can command astonishing prices in the rare coin market. Million-dollar sales are generally associated with legendary rarities like the famous 1943 bronze Lincoln cent rather than standard 1942 issues. That doesn't mean your coin isn't valuable. In fact, many collectors have discovered coins worth hundreds or thousands of dollars simply because they checked carefully instead of spending them. Imagine finding an old penny in your grandfather's collection. It looks ordinary. It's been sitting in a drawer for decades. Then you notice sharp details. Beautiful original color. No mint mark. And perhaps an unusual minting error. Suddenly that forgotten penny becomes the most exciting coin in the collection. Stories like that happen more often than people realize. Estate sales. Old piggy banks. Coin jars. Inherited collections. Pocket change. Amazing discoveries continue to appear in the most unexpected places. That's exactly why experienced collectors never stop searching. Every coin has a story. Every date has a mystery. And every collection could hide something extraordinary. Here's another tip. Use a magnifying glass or coin loop when examining your wheat pennies. Tiny doubling, small die cracks, or subtle minting errors are often impossible to see with the naked eye. One careful inspection could reveal details that completely change your coin's value. Also consider weighing your coin if you suspect something unusual. Authentic 1942 bronze Lincoln cents should weigh around 3.11 grams, with only slight variation. If the weight seems significantly different, it may deserve closer examination by an experienced professional. If your coin appears unusually sharp, has an obvious error, or simply looks different from other wheat pennies, consider having it authenticated and graded by a respected third-party grading service. Professional certification provides confidence for both collectors and buyers. Sometimes that single plastic holder can make all the difference when establishing authenticity and market value. Now imagine how many people walk around every day carrying old coins without ever checking them. Some inherit collections. Others receive old rolls from relatives. Many simply overlook the coins sitting in jars at home. Most never realize that history is literally hiding in plain sight. That's what makes coin collecting so exciting. You never know when the next incredible discovery will happen. The next valuable wheat penny might already be sitting in someone's dresser drawer. It could be hiding inside a forgotten coin album. Or it could even be waiting in a handful of old change you've never bothered to inspect. So before you spend another old penny, take one extra minute. Check the date. Look for the missing mint mark. Examine the condition. Search for unusual errors. And remember that even if your coin isn't a legendary million-dollar rarity, it could still be worth far more than 1 cent. The thrill isn't just about the money. It's about uncovering history that millions of people overlooked. And sometimes, history rewards the people who simply take the time to look a little closer. If you enjoy discovering hidden treasures hiding in everyday pocket change, make sure you don't miss the next rare coin we uncover. There are still countless Lincoln Wheat Pennies, forgotten mint errors, and incredible collector stories waiting to be revealed. Until next time, keep checking every coin, because your next penny could be the one everyone else missed. The biggest mistake you could make today is spending a plain-looking 1944 Lincoln Wheat Penny. One tiny detail on this coin could turn a single cent into a life-changing payday, and most people never even notice it. Imagine reaching into an old jar of pennies, pulling out a worn copper coin, and discovering it could be worth more than a brand new luxury car, or in one incredibly rare case, even hundreds of thousands of dollars. It sounds impossible, but that's exactly why collectors search through millions of pennies every year. Today, we're uncovering the mystery behind the 1944 Abraham Lincoln 1-cent wheat penny with no mint mark, the hidden features that separate ordinary coins from extraordinary treasures, and why one small detail could make all the difference. At first glance, every 1944 Lincoln wheat penny looks almost identical. On the front, you'll see Abraham Lincoln's portrait with the date 1944. Above his head is the famous phrase, "In God we trust." Along the left side is "Liberty." On the back are two wheat stalks surrounding the words, 1 cent and United States of America. If there's no mint mark below the date, that means it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Now here's where things get interesting. Most people assume that a coin without a mint mark must automatically be rare. That's actually not true. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 1 billion 1944 Lincoln pennies. That means the average 1944 no mint mark penny isn't rare at all. In circulated condition, it's usually worth only a few cents. Even beautiful uncirculated examples often sell for just a few dollars. So why are collectors willing to pay astonishing amounts for certain 1944 pennies? The answer lies in one of the greatest minting mistakes in American coin history. To understand it, we have to go back to World War II. During 1943, the United States desperately needed copper for wartime equipment, ammunition, and military supplies. To save copper, the U.S. Mint made Lincoln pennies from zinc-coated steel instead. These silver-colored pennies looked completely different from the traditional copper cents Americans were used to carrying. Then, in 1944, the Mint switched back to copper. They even recycled spent shell casings from the war to produce many of the new pennies. Millions of shiny copper coins entered circulation, and people were happy to see the familiar color return. But something unexpected happened inside the Mint. A few leftover steel blanks from 1943 were accidentally mixed into the presses during the production of the 1944 pennies. Instead of striking copper planchets, a tiny number of 1944 pennies were mistakenly struck on steel. That accident created one of the rarest Lincoln cents ever made. Think about it for a second. Nearly every genuine 1944 penny should be copper. If you ever find one that's silver-colored because it's actually made of steel, you could be holding one of the most valuable error coins in American history. Here's an easy test almost anyone can do at home. Grab a small magnet. A normal 1944 copper penny will not stick to the magnet. But a genuine 1944 steel penny will stick immediately. That simple test has led collectors to discover incredible treasures hiding in forgotten collections. Now don't get too excited just because your penny looks silver. Many people accidentally coat copper pennies with chemicals or plate them with metal, making them appear silver. Others have been cleaned until they look unusual. A magnet is only the first step. Professional authentication is absolutely essential before assuming you found the real thing. Another clue is weight. A normal copper 1944 penny weighs about 3.11 grams. A genuine steel error weighs approximately 2.7 grams. That small difference may not sound important, but collectors and grading companies rely on precise measurements to separate authentic rarities from altered coins. Now let's talk about condition. Even ordinary 1944 copper pennies become much more valuable when they're in exceptional condition. Coins with their original bright red mint luster are far more desirable than dark brown examples that circulated for decades. Collectors use color descriptions like brown, and red. A full red example with almost no wear can bring dramatically higher prices than the exact same coin after years of circulation. This is why experienced collectors never polish old coins. Cleaning a coin may seem like a good idea, but it usually destroys much of its collector value. Original surfaces are far more important than shiny ones. Here's another surprise. Some 1944 pennies have double dies, repunched mint characteristics, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, or dramatic die cracks. These mint errors aren't nearly as valuable as the famous steel error, but they can still command impressive premiums depending on their rarity and condition. Many people spend every unusual-looking penny they receive because they don't realize these small minting mistakes can be highly collectible. Now comes the question everyone has been waiting for. How much is a 1944 no-mint mark Lincoln Wheat penny actually worth? If it's a normal circulated copper coin, expect anywhere from a few cents to around $1 depending on its condition. A nice uncirculated example with strong original color may sell for several dollars or even much more if it's professionally graded in exceptionally high mint state. But if you somehow discover one of the authentic 1944 steel era pennies, everything changes. Because only a tiny number are known to exist, collectors compete fiercely whenever one appears at auction. Some authenticated examples have sold for well over $100,000. The finest known pieces have reached prices exceeding several $100,000 under the right market conditions. Those incredible auction results are exactly why people continue checking every old wheat penny they find. And here's something many viewers don't realize. Millions of old coin collections remain untouched in attics, closets, dresser drawers, and family safes across America. Every year, inherited collections are opened for the first time in decades. Hidden among ordinary coins, genuine rarities are occasionally rediscovered. That's what keeps the excitement alive. Imagine inheriting a small coffee can filled with old pennies from your grandparents. You assume they're worth face value until you notice one dated 1944 that looks different from all the others. It sticks to a magnet. Suddenly, a 1-cent coin becomes something worth investigating. Stories just like that have happened before. Of course, finding a genuine steel 1944 penny is incredibly unlikely. They are among the rarest era coins ever produced. Most silver-colored 1944 pennies turn out to be altered, plated, or counterfeit. But that's exactly why authentication matters so much. If your coin passes the magnet test, has the correct weight, and appears genuine, sending it to a respected grading service is the smartest next step. Experts can determine whether it's authentic, identify any mint errors, and assign a professional grade that collectors trust. One important warning: the internet is full of exaggerated claims saying every 1944 penny is worth millions of dollars. That's simply not true. Most 1944 Philadelphia wheat pennies are common coins. The extraordinary values apply only to exceptionally rare era coins, outstanding condition examples, or other unusual varieties confirmed by experts. Knowing the difference can save you from disappointment while helping you recognize a genuine opportunity if one ever appears. So before you spend another old penny, take a closer look. Check the date. Look for the missing mint mark under the year, which indicates Philadelphia. Examine the color. Try the magnet test. If something seems unusual, don't clean it, don't polish it, and don't assume it's fake. Sometimes the smallest details create the biggest surprises. The next time you receive change from a grocery store, open an old coin album, or sort through a family collection, remember this incredible story. A coin that most people ignore could contain a hidden secret that collectors have been searching for over generations. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever found a wheat penny in your pocket change, or do you have a jar of old coins waiting to be searched? Let everyone know in the comments because your discovery might inspire someone else to check their own collection. And if you enjoy uncovering hidden treasures, forgotten coin errors, and the fascinating stories behind America's most valuable pennies, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. Every old coin has a story, and the next incredible discovery could already be sitting in your pocket, waiting for someone curious enough to notice it. Have you checked your old pennies lately? Because one tiny 1954 Lincoln Wheat penny with a Denver Mint mark could be hiding in a coin jar, a dusty drawer, or even your pocket change, and under the right conditions, it could be worth far more than 1 cent. Some collectors have paid astonishing amounts for rare era versions of this coin, and today, you'll discover exactly what makes certain 1954 Lincoln pennies so valuable, what to look for, and how to avoid spending a hidden treasure by mistake. Most people see an old penny and assume it's just spare change. They toss it into a jar, feed it into a vending machine, or forget about it completely. But coin collectors know something most people don't. Sometimes the smallest details can turn an ordinary-looking coin into a collector's dream. The 1954 Lincoln Wheat penny is one of those coins that deserves a closer look. Millions were made at the Denver Mint, which means the average example is common. But here's where the story gets interesting. While most are only worth a small premium over face value, a tiny number have special characteristics, rare errors, or exceptional preservation that can make them worth hundreds, thousands, or in extraordinary cases, much more. That means if you've inherited an old coin collection, found a roll of wheat pennies, or have a family member who saved coins decades ago, you might already own one without realizing it. The Lincoln Wheat penny itself has an incredible history. Designed by Victor David Brenner, it first appeared in 1909 to honor President Abraham Lincoln. It became the first circulating U.S. coin to feature a real historical person. On the back, you'll see 2 wheat stalks surrounding the words, 1 cent, giving the coin its famous wheat penny nickname. By 1954, America was changing rapidly. The economy was booming after World War II, and millions of pennies were produced every year. The Denver Mint struck hundreds of millions of Lincoln cents in 1954. Because so many exist, collectors usually focus on finding examples with something unusual. And that's where things get exciting. Imagine picking up 2 pennies that look almost identical. One might be worth just a few cents. The other could sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars because of one tiny detail almost nobody notices. The first thing to check is the mint mark. Under the date, you'll see a small D, meaning it was struck in Denver. Without that mint mark, it's a Philadelphia coin. While both have collectible value, certain Denver examples with rare errors attract much more attention. Now here's something many beginners overlook. Condition changes everything. A worn coin that's been carried in pockets for years may only be worth a small amount. But a coin that somehow escaped circulation and still has its original mint luster can be dramatically more valuable. Professional grading companies use a numerical scale from 1 to 70. Coins graded mint state 65, 66, 67, and higher become increasingly rare. Every tiny scratch, mark, or loss of shine affects the grade. That's why collectors are willing to pay huge premiums for coins that appear almost perfect. But condition is only part of the story. Let's talk about errors. Coin errors happen during the minting process. Sometimes the dies become damaged. Sometimes they are misaligned. Occasionally they develop cracks or produce double details. These mint mistakes create coins that collectors actively search for. One exciting possibility is a repunched mint mark. During the 1950s, mint marks were punched into dies by hand. If the punch shifted slightly and was struck again, the mint mark could show extra lines or unusual shapes under magnification. To the average person, it looks like a normal D. To an experienced collector, it could mean a valuable variety. Another feature worth searching for is die cracks. These appear as raised lines across the coin because the striking die developed tiny fractures. Some die cracks are common, but dramatic examples can attract collector interest. Then there are die chips. Small pieces of the die can break away, creating raised blobs on certain letters or numbers. Some collectors specialize in these unusual varieties. Now imagine finding multiple rare features on the same coin. That's when excitement really begins. Another thing to inspect carefully is the lettering. Look closely at Liberty. Check, In God We Trust. Study every number in the date. If you notice doubling, unusual spacing, or distorted letters, your coin deserves a closer examination. Many valuable varieties have been discovered simply because someone decided to use a magnifying glass before spending a penny. Here's another surprising fact. Cleaning your coin could destroy its value. It sounds backward. Most people think polishing makes old objects more valuable. With rare coins, the opposite is usually true. Collectors want original surfaces. Even gentle cleaning can leave microscopic scratches that reduce collector demand. So if you think you found something unusual, resist the temptation to polish it. Leave it exactly as you found it. Store it safely. Handle it only by the edges. Those simple steps could preserve hundreds or even thousands of dollars in value. Now let's build the suspense. How much could a 1954 Lincoln Wheat Penny actually be worth? An average circulated example usually sells for only a small premium over face value. A beautiful uncirculated coin with strong eye appeal might sell for several dollars or even significantly more depending on its certified grade. High-grade certified examples can reach hundreds of dollars. Rare error varieties may command even higher prices depending on the specific error, rarity, and collector demand. And when an exceptionally rare combination of outstanding preservation and a significant mint error appears, auction prices can climb dramatically. This is why you sometimes hear headlines claiming certain pennies are worth incredible amounts of money. It's important to understand that those extraordinary prices are tied to specific rare examples, not every 1954 Wheat penny. Still, that's exactly what makes searching so exciting. You never know when an ordinary-looking coin might turn out to be an extraordinary discovery. Collectors across America still search bank rolls, estate sales, flea markets, antique shops, and inherited collections hoping to uncover one of these hidden treasures. Some spend years looking. Others get lucky on their very first day. Think about that. The next coin sitting unnoticed in an old coffee can could become the highlight of someone's collection. Here's another detail many people miss. Original red color. Fresh copper coins have a bright reddish appearance. Over time they naturally darken into brown. Collectors classify copper coins as brown, or red. Original full red examples are much scarcer because they retain their original mint color for decades. That single characteristic alone can make a huge difference in value when combined with a high mint state grade. Now picture opening your grandfather's coin album. Most pages contain ordinary coins. But tucked between them sits a bright red 1954 Lincoln Wheat Penny with blazing luster and almost no wear. Could it be special? Absolutely. That's why professional authentication matters. Experts examine coins under powerful magnification, verify authenticity, identify varieties, detect alterations, and assign an official grade. That certification gives buyers confidence and often increases market value. Another mistake people make is assuming every old coin is automatically valuable. Age alone doesn't determine price. Rarity, condition, demand, and uniqueness all work together. A common coin from the 1800s may sell for less than a rare error coin from the 1950s. That's one reason coin collecting remains so fascinating. Every coin tells its own story. Every scratch has history. Every mint error has a mystery. Every discovery creates excitement. Imagine finding a penny that sat unnoticed for 70 years. It traveled through stores, gas stations, restaurants, and countless pockets before finally ending up in your hands. What stories could it tell? Who carried it? Who overlooked it? And why did it survive long enough for you to find it? That's the magic of coin collecting. You're not just searching for money. You're uncovering pieces of American history. So before you ignore another old wheat penny, take just a few extra seconds. Check the date. Look for the Denver D. Inspect the lettering. Study the surfaces. Look for unusual doubling, cracks, chips, or other mint-made characteristics. Examine the color. Pay attention to the overall condition. That careful inspection could reveal something most people would completely miss. And remember, while stories about million-dollar pennies grab attention, such prices are exceptionally rare and depend on unique, verified examples. The real excitement comes from discovering a genuinely collectible coin that others overlooked. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever found a wheat penny in your pocket change? Do you have an old coin collection sitting at home waiting to be explored? Tell us in the comments which year you found, because your discovery might inspire someone else to check their own coins. And don't stop with just one penny. Go through every coin jar, every old wallet, every family collection, and every forgotten box in the attic. You never know what hidden treasure could be waiting inside. If you enjoyed uncovering the secrets behind the 1954 Lincoln Wheat Penny and want to learn about more rare coins that could be hiding in plain sight, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. New discoveries are always waiting, and your next coin could be the one that changes everything. Until next time, happy hunting, and always check your change before you spend it. Before you spend another penny, stop. A single 1957 Abraham Lincoln Wheat Penny with no mint mark could be hiding in a jar, a drawer, or even your pocket change right now. And while most are worth just 1 cent, a few extraordinary examples have sold for thousands of dollars, making collectors search harder than ever. Here's what you need to know before you overlook one that could change your day. Most people never think twice about a penny. They toss it into a cup holder, leave it at the bottom of a backpack, or drop it into a change jar. But experienced coin collectors know something the average person doesn't. Sometimes the smallest coin carries the biggest surprise. The 1957 Lincoln Wheat Penny is one of those coins that deserves a closer look. Millions were made, but not every coin left the mint exactly the same. Tiny differences, hidden minting mistakes, and exceptional condition can turn an ordinary-looking penny into something collectors are willing to pay serious money for. That's why you should never judge a coin by its face value. The story begins in 1957, during the final years of the famous wheat penny design. For nearly 50 years, Americans carried these coins everywhere. On the front is Abraham Lincoln, introduced in 1909 to celebrate his 100th birthday. On the back are the 2 wheat stalks that gave this series its famous nickname. If your coin has no mint mark under the date, it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. At first, that might not sound exciting. Philadelphia produced hundreds of millions of Lincoln cents in 1957. So how could one possibly become valuable? Here's where things get interesting. Collectors don't simply collect dates. They collect rarity, quality, and mistakes. Imagine 2 identical-looking pennies sitting side by side. One has been passed through thousands of hands, scratched, worn, and damaged over decades. The other was somehow tucked away the day it was made. Its bright red color still shines almost exactly like it did in 1957. Even though both were made in the same year, their values couldn't be more different. That's one of the biggest secrets in coin collecting. Condition matters. A heavily circulated 1957 no mint mark wheat penny is usually worth only a few cents to a couple of dollars depending on its condition. But if it's an uncirculated example with full original red color, the value climbs dramatically. Collectors compete fiercely for coins that look almost brand new. Professional grading companies carefully inspect every tiny detail. They assign a numerical grade from 1 to 70. A difference of just 1 point can mean hundreds, or even thousands, of dollars. Think about that. One tiny mark you can barely see might separate a valuable coin from an extraordinary one. Now here's something even more exciting. Not every valuable 1957 penny is valuable because of its condition. Some became famous because of minting errors. And mint errors are where ordinary coins become unforgettable. One mistake collectors always search for is doubling. Sometimes during the minting process, parts of the design appear doubled because of an error in the die used to strike the coin. Letters may look thicker. Numbers may appear slightly duplicated. Lincoln's features may show unusual detail. These varieties can become highly desirable. Another error involves off-center strikes. Instead of the design appearing perfectly centered, part of the coin may be blank while the rest of the image is shifted. The more dramatic the error, the more collectors notice. Then there are die cracks, die chips, clipped planchets, and other unusual mint mistakes that make each coin unique. These aren't damaged coins. They're mistakes created during production. And collectors love authentic mint errors. But wait. There's one 1957 wheat penny that has become legendary among collectors. The 1957 doubled die obverse. Although most examples carry the Denver mint mark, double die varieties from this era have made collectors realize just how valuable dramatic minting errors can become. That's why experts recommend examining every 1957 Lincoln cent carefully. You never know what unusual feature you might discover. Now let's talk about something many people completely overlook. Color. Copper changes over time. Freshly minted copper coins display a bright orange-red appearance. As decades pass, exposure to air slowly changes that color into brown. Coin grading companies classify copper cents into three categories: brown, red-brown, and red. Guess which one usually brings the highest prices? That's right. Original red. A brilliant red 1957 wheat penny that's been perfectly preserved for nearly 70 years can be worth many times more than a brown example. And finding one isn't impossible. Some people stored rolls of pennies decades ago. Others inherited collections without realizing what they owned. Every year, forgotten collections are rediscovered. That's why collectors continue searching. Now imagine opening your grandparents' old coin box. Inside sits a shiny 1957 wheat penny that looks almost untouched. Would you spend it? Probably not. But here's another surprise. Cleaning the coin could ruin its value. Many people believe polishing old coins makes them more valuable. The opposite is usually true. Collectors prefer original surfaces. Even gentle cleaning can leave tiny scratches that reduce a coin's appeal. So if you think you found something special, resist the urge to shine it. Leave it exactly as it is. That single decision could preserve hundreds, or even thousands, of dollars in collector value. Now let's get to the question everyone wants answered. How much is a 1957 no-mint mark wheat penny actually worth? Most circulated examples sell anywhere from a few cents to several dollars depending on where. Nice uncirculated examples often reach tens of dollars. Exceptional high-grade red examples certified by professional grading services have sold for hundreds and even several $1,000s when collectors compete for the finest known pieces. And genuine mint error varieties can sometimes bring even more depending on the rarity and demand. But what about the million-dollar claim? Here's the truth. As of today, there are no verified public sales showing a regular 1957 no-mint mark Lincoln wheat penny selling for $1 million. That doesn't mean your coin isn't valuable. It means its value depends on factors like condition, authenticity, rarity, and whether it has a significant mint error. Extraordinary coins can command extraordinary prices, but every claim should be backed by expert authentication and actual auction records. That's why it's so important not to believe every headline you see online. Instead, learn what makes a coin truly special. Knowledge is what separates lucky finds from missed opportunities. Here's a simple checklist. First, check the date. Make sure it's 1957. Second, look below the date. If there's no mint mark, it came from Philadelphia. Third, inspect the coin carefully under bright light. Look for doubling in the letters and numbers. Search for unusual errors. Check whether the coin still has bright original red color. Finally, avoid cleaning it. If everything looks promising, consider having the coin evaluated by a professional grading service. You might discover it's worth far more than you expected. Stories like these are why coin collecting continues to grow every year. People search bank rolls. They examine inherited collections. They inspect old piggy banks. Some even find collectible coins in everyday change. Most searches end with ordinary coins. But every once in a while, someone discovers something truly remarkable. And that's what keeps the hunt alive. Imagine telling your family that the penny everyone ignored turned out to be the highlight of the collection. Imagine finding a coin that's been hiding in plain sight for decades. It happens more often than most people realize. So before you spend another wheat penny, take a closer look. It only takes a few seconds. That tiny piece of copper could tell an incredible story. Maybe it's simply a historic keepsake from America's past. Maybe it's a beautiful uncirculated survivor. Or maybe it's an overlooked mint error that collectors have been searching for. You'll never know unless you check. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever found an old wheat penny in your pocket change or inherited a coin collection from a family member? Tell us what you discovered in the comments, because your story might inspire someone else to start looking through their own coins today. And remember, some of the most exciting treasures aren't buried underground, they're hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone curious enough to notice them. If you enjoy uncovering hidden money secrets, rare coin discoveries, and fascinating stories behind America's most valuable pennies, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. There are countless coins still waiting to be discovered, and the next incredible find could already be sitting in your home right now. Have you checked your loose change lately? Because one tiny 1968 Lincoln penny with an S mint mark could be hiding a secret that collectors dream about. Some rare examples have sold for thousands of dollars, and certain extraordinary error coins have reached astonishing prices. Before you spend another penny, you need to hear this. Most people see a 1968 Lincoln penny and think it's worth exactly 1 cent. They toss it into a jar, leave it in a car cup holder, or spend it without a second thought. But that's exactly why valuable coins continue to hide in plain sight. Every year, collectors discover forgotten treasures that were sitting in drawers, piggy banks, and old coin collections for decades. Today's story is all about the famous 1968 Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin with the S mint mark. At first glance, it looks ordinary. But under the right conditions, with the right details, and especially if it has a rare error or exceptional condition, this little coin could be worth far more than anyone expects. Stay with me, because one small detail near the end could completely change how you look at every penny you own. Let's start with the basics. The 1968 South Lincoln Center was produced at the San Francisco Mint. After several years of not placing mint marks on Lincoln cents, the U.S. Mint brought them back in 1968. That tiny S below the date instantly tells you where the coin was made. Millions of these pennies were struck. In fact, over 258 million were produced. That sounds like a huge number, and it is. So why would anyone pay serious money for one? The answer is simple. Not every coin leaves the mint exactly the same. Some are struck with incredible detail. Some have unusual minting mistakes. Others survive for decades without a single scratch. These are the coins collectors chase. Now here's where things get interesting. Imagine two identical-looking pennies sitting side by side. One is worth a single cent. The other is worth hundreds, maybe thousands, simply because of one tiny feature almost nobody notices. That's why experienced collectors never judge a coin by its date alone. The first thing experts examine is the condition. A worn 1968 S penny that has spent years in circulation usually carries very little premium. But a coin that has never entered circulation can be a completely different story. Collectors call these mint state coins. When a professional grading company assigns a grade like MS65, MS66, MS67, or even higher, the value can climb dramatically. And here's something many people don't realize. The difference between an MS66 coin and an MS67 coin might look almost invisible to the average person. Yet the price difference can be hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Now let's make things even more exciting. Some 1968 S Lincoln cents contain rare mint errors. These are the coins that create headlines. One popular error is the doubled die. This happens when part of the design appears doubled because of the way the die was created. On some coins, you may notice doubling in the letters, numbers, or Lincoln's features. Finding a genuine double die can transform an ordinary-looking penny into an exciting collector's item. Then there are off-center strikes. Imagine the coin entering the press slightly out of position. Instead of a perfectly centered design, part of the image is missing while a blank crescent-shaped area appears along one edge. Depending on how dramatic the error is, these coins can sell for impressive amounts. Another possibility is a broad strike error. Without the retaining collar holding the coin in place, the metal spreads farther than normal during striking. The result is a coin that looks unusually wide with missing edge details. Collectors love dramatic mint mistakes because everyone tells the story of a split-second mistake inside the mint. Now here's a question. What if your penny has no obvious error? Don't stop looking. There's another feature that collectors love. Luster. Fresh mint luster creates a bright cartwheel effect when the coin is tilted under light. That shimmering appearance disappears as coins circulate. If your 1968's penny still flashes with original mint brilliance, you're already looking at something more desirable than the average example. Now let's talk about color. Copper coins are usually classified into three categories: brown, red-brown, and red. A full red coin retains nearly all of its original bright copper color. These are much scarcer after decades of storage because copper naturally darkens over time. That's why collectors often pay huge premiums for high-grade red examples. Here's where the suspense really begins. Suppose you discover a flawless 1968 South Lincoln Center with blazing original red surfaces and almost no imperfections. Could it actually be valuable? The answer is absolutely yes. High-grade certified examples have sold for thousands of dollars at major auctions. Collectors compete fiercely because only a tiny number survive in elite condition. Now let's clear up one of the biggest myths online. You've probably seen videos claiming every 1968's penny is worth $1 million. That's simply not true. The overwhelming majority are worth only modest amounts. However, certain extraordinary examples with elite grades, dramatic mint errors, or unique characteristics can command astonishing prices in the collector market. That's exactly why careful inspection matters. The smallest difference can completely change the value. Now imagine opening your grandfather's old coin box. You find several pennies wrapped in paper from the late 1960s. Most people would ignore them. But a knowledgeable collector immediately checks every single coin. Why? Because hidden among ordinary pennies could be an untouched mint state survivor that has been protected for over 50 years. Stories like this happen more often than you might think. Collectors have discovered valuable coins in estate sales, inherited collections, old coffee cans, garage sales, bank rolls, even pocket change. That's part of what makes coin collecting so exciting. Every penny has a story. Every coin deserves a closer look. Now here's another detail many beginners miss. Never clean an old coin. It sounds helpful, but cleaning usually destroys original surfaces and can dramatically reduce collector value. A shiny cleaned penny often sells for much less than a naturally aged coin. Professional collectors prefer originality. Even small hairline scratches from polishing can make a big difference. If you think you found something special, hold it carefully by the edges. Store it in a protective holder. And consider having it examined by a professional grading service. That small investment could protect a coin worth far more than you imagine. Now let's build toward the big question. How much could a remarkable 1968's Lincoln penny actually be worth? An average circulated example is usually worth only face value or slightly more. A beautiful uncirculated example may bring several dollars or even more depending on quality. Certified high-grade red examples have reached hundreds and even thousands of dollars when collector demand is strong. Rare error coins with dramatic, authenticated mint mistakes can also sell for hundreds or thousands depending on the specific error, rarity, and condition. And on extremely rare occasions, exceptional Lincoln cents from various dates have achieved incredible auction results that capture worldwide attention. That's why collectors always say one simple phrase. Check every coin. Because you never know which tiny detail separates an ordinary penny from an extraordinary discovery. Think about how many pennies pass through your hands every year. 10. 100. Maybe 1,000. What if just one of them turns out to be the coin every collector has been searching for? Would you recognize it before spending it? That's the mystery that keeps collectors searching every single day. The next time you receive change at a grocery store, gas station, or coffee shop, don't just toss those pennies aside. Look at the date. Find the mint mark. Check the color. Study the lettering. Look for doubling. Watch for unusual shapes. Inspect the surfaces under good lighting. Those few extra seconds could make all the difference. And remember, patience wins in coin collecting. The biggest discoveries usually happen to people who pay attention while everyone else is looking the other way. So now I have a challenge for you. Grab your coin jar. Search your old piggy bank. Look through family collections. See if you can find a 1968 Lincoln penny with that tiny S mint mark. If you do, don't assume it's ordinary. Take a closer look. You might discover something that surprises you. Have you ever found an old penny that looked unusual or had a strange error? Let everyone know in the comments because your story might help another collector uncover a hidden treasure. And if you enjoy uncovering forgotten coins, hidden mint errors, and incredible pocket change discoveries, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. New valuable coin secrets are waiting to be discovered, and your next life-changing find could already be sitting in your pocket right now. The biggest mistake you could make today is spending a 1973 Lincoln penny without looking at it first, because one tiny detail could turn an ordinary 1-cent coin into a collector's dream worth thousands of dollars. And while stories claiming it's worth millions often spread online, the real surprises come from rare errors and exceptional examples that many people overlook. Imagine reaching into your pocket, your old coin jar, or even your car's cup holder and pulling out a simple-looking 1973 Lincoln penny. Most people would never think twice about it. They'd toss it into a vending machine or leave it sitting in a drawer. But experienced coin collectors know that some of the most valuable discoveries have started exactly that way. Today we're diving into one of the most talked about modern Lincoln cents ever made. We'll uncover what makes certain 1973 pennies special, which rare errors collectors chase, what you should be looking for, and why some examples have sold for shocking prices. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what separates an ordinary penny from one that could be worth far more than 1 cent. Let's start with the basics. The 1973 Lincoln cent was produced during a time when the United States Mint was making billions of pennies every year. Philadelphia struck these coins without a mint mark, while Denver used a small D, and San Francisco produced proof coins with an S. That means if your 1973 penny has no mint mark, it was made in Philadelphia. This is completely normal. In fact, hundreds of millions of these coins were produced. So why are people talking about them? Because sometimes the smallest mistake at the mint can create a coin that collectors desperately want. And here's where things get interesting. Most 1973 no-mint mark pennies are worth only a few cents in circulated condition. Even bright, uncirculated examples often sell for just a few dollars. But not every coin is the same. Some escaped the mint with dramatic errors. Others survived in nearly perfect condition. And a handful have become legendary among collectors. One of the first things experts check is the overall condition. A coin that never entered circulation keeps its original mint luster. Instead of appearing dull or worn, it shines with a rich copper glow. Tiny details in Lincoln's hair, beard, and coat remain sharp. The wheat-free memorial reverse shows crisp lines and clean lettering. Now imagine two identical pennies. One has spent 50 years passing from hand to hand. The other has remained untouched inside a collector's roll since 1973. The difference in value can be enormous. That's because collectors compete fiercely for the finest known examples. Professional grading services carefully examine every mark, scratch, and detail before assigning a grade. The closer a coin comes to perfection, the more desirable it becomes. In some cases, a high-grade 1973 Philadelphia cent has sold for hundreds or even thousands of dollars because so few survive in flawless condition. But condition isn't the only thing that matters. Errors are where the real excitement begins. Picture a freshly struck penny leaving the mint. Now imagine the die shifts slightly. Or the blank isn't positioned correctly. Or the die itself develops cracks. Each mistake leaves behind clues. Some collectors spend years searching through rolls of pennies hoping to find one. One popular error is an off-center strike. Instead of the design appearing perfectly centered, part of Lincoln or the reverse design is missing because the blank wasn't aligned correctly during striking. The more dramatic the off-center strike, while still showing the date, the more collectors usually become interested. Another fascinating possibility is a broad strike. Without the collar holding the coin in place, the metal spreads outward during striking, creating an unusually wide coin with missing rim details. These unusual pieces stand out immediately. Then there are die cracks. Over time, tremendous pressure causes dies to develop tiny fractures. Those cracks transfer onto the coins as raised lines. Some are small. Others become dramatic enough to catch a collector's eye instantly. Another error worth watching for is a clipped planchet. Before a blank becomes a coin, it's punched from a large metal sheet. Occasionally the punch overlaps another hole, leaving part of the blank missing. The finished penny looks like someone took a bite out of it. Collectors love genuine examples. But perhaps one of the most exciting discoveries is the doubled die. This happens during die creation, not while striking the coin. The result is noticeable doubling on certain letters, numbers, or design elements. Under magnification, the lettering may appear doubled, giving the coin an unmistakable appearance. Many people mistake ordinary machine doubling for a true doubled die. That's why careful examination is so important. And here's something even more surprising. Sometimes people ignore damaged coins because they assume every unusual-looking penny is valuable. That's a costly mistake. Damage after the coin leaves the mint usually reduces value. A penny flattened by a train, squeezed in a vise, scratched with tools, or altered by chemicals isn't considered a valuable mint error. Learning the difference between real mint errors and post-mint damage can save you from disappointment. Now let's talk about color. Copper coins naturally change over time. Collectors divide them into three categories: brown, red-brown, and red. A fully red coin still shows nearly all of its original bright copper color. These examples are much scarcer after more than 50 years. When combined with an outstanding grade, they often command impressive premiums. Imagine opening an old coin roll that hasn't been touched since the early 1970s. Inside, dozens of blazing red pennies shine just as they did on the day they were struck. Collectors dream about finds like that. Now comes the question everyone has been waiting for. Could your 1973 no-mint mark Lincoln penny actually be worth $1 million? Here's the truth. There is no widely verified public sale of a standard 1973 no-mint mark Lincoln cent reaching $1 million. Claims like that often appear in viral posts and videos, but they usually lack documented auction records. That doesn't mean your coin has no value. Far from it. Common circulated examples usually bring only a few cents above face value. Nice uncirculated coins can sell for several dollars. High-grade certified examples have reached hundreds and, in exceptional cases, even thousands of dollars at major auctions when they are among the finest known. Rare mint errors can also command impressive prices depending on the type of error, rarity, and overall condition. That's why experts always recommend looking closely before spending older pennies. You never know what unusual feature might be hiding in plain sight. Here's another tip that many beginners miss. Never clean your coin. It sounds strange, but cleaning usually lowers collector value. Even gentle polishing removes original surfaces that collectors want preserved. A cleaned coin often sells for much less than an untouched example. Instead, handle valuable-looking coins carefully by the edges. Store them in protective holders. If you believe you found an unusual error or an exceptionally well-preserved coin, consider having it examined by a reputable coin dealer or professional grading service. Authentication can make all the difference. Think about how many pennies are sitting in jars across America right now. Billions of coins have been forgotten in drawers, piggy banks, coffee cans, and family collections. Most are ordinary. But every so often, someone discovers something remarkable. A rare error. An overlooked variety. A nearly perfect survivor. Those discoveries keep collectors searching year after year. And that's exactly what makes coin collecting so exciting. Every penny tells a story. Your next handful of change could include a coin that escaped notice for decades. Someone else may have spent it without looking. The cashier never noticed. The customer didn't either. Now it's in your hands. Will you recognize it? Take a close look at every 1973 Lincoln penny you find. Check for the missing mint mark from Philadelphia. That's normal, but don't stop there. Look for unusual doubling. Watch for striking errors. Examine the color. Study the condition. Compare it with verified examples. The smallest detail could completely change what collectors are willing to pay. And remember, while headlines about million-dollar pennies are exciting, the real treasure is knowing how to identify genuinely scarce coins backed by collector demand and documented sales. That knowledge gives you an advantage most people don't have. So before you spend another penny, grab a magnifying glass and inspect your pocket change. You might discover an overlooked error or an exceptionally preserved coin hiding among ordinary cents. Have you ever found an unusual Lincoln penny or another coin that looked different from the rest? Tell us about it in the comments. Your discovery might inspire someone else to check their own collection. And if you enjoy uncovering hidden treasures hiding in everyday pocket change, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. There are countless rare coins still waiting to be found, and the next incredible discovery could already be sitting in your pocket. A penny from 1987 could be hiding in your pocket right now, and some people believe it could change your life forever. Before you spend another Lincoln cent, you need to hear this, because one tiny detail could mean the difference between 1 cent and thousands of dollars. Most people never look twice at a 1987 Abraham Lincoln penny. They toss it into a jar, leave it in the cup holder of their car, or hand it over at a checkout counter without a second thought. But that's exactly why rare coins keep slipping through people's fingers every single day. Hidden among billions of ordinary pennies are a few incredible examples that collectors are willing to pay serious money for. Today we're uncovering the truth about the 1987 Lincoln 1-cent coin with no mint mark. Is it really worth a fortune? Could it actually be worth $1 million? And what secret details should you be looking for before you spend one? The answer might surprise you. Let's start with something most people don't know. In 1987, Lincoln pennies were produced in huge numbers. The Philadelphia Mint struck billions of pennies, and unlike many modern coins, pennies made there did not carry a mint mark. That means if your 1987 penny has no letter under the date, that's completely normal. It simply means it was made in Philadelphia. Now here's where things become interesting. Even though millions upon millions of these coins exist, not all 1987 pennies are equal. A handful stand out because of rare mint errors, exceptional condition, or unusual characteristics that collectors desperately want to own. Imagine finding a penny that everyone else ignored, only to discover collectors are competing to buy it. That has happened before. Throughout coin collecting history, ordinary-looking pennies have sold for shocking amounts simply because they were struck differently or survived in nearly perfect condition. So what should you actually be looking for? First, examine the date carefully. Make sure it clearly reads 1987. Next, check beneath the date. If there's no mint mark, don't get too excited just yet. Remember, that's the standard Philadelphia issue. But now comes the part that separates common coins from valuable ones. Look closely at Lincoln's portrait. Do you notice unusual doubling on the lettering? Are the words, "In God We Trust," or "Liberty" showing doubled edges? Does the date appear doubled? These could indicate a double die variety, one of the most famous error types in American coin collecting. Not every doubled coin is valuable, but genuine doubled dies can attract significant attention from collectors. Now inspect the surface. Does the coin have strange raised lines? Are there cracks running through the design? Those may be die cracks or die breaks that occurred as the minting equipment wore out. Some collectors love dramatic die errors because every one is unique. But don't stop there. Flip the coin over. Study the Lincoln Memorial. Look for weak details, missing design elements, or unusual strike characteristics. Sometimes a coin wasn't struck with enough pressure. Other times, grease filled part of the die, causing letters or design features to disappear. These are called filled die errors, and certain examples can be surprisingly collectible. Here's another detail many people completely overlook. Color. Most circulated pennies appear brown after years of use. But if you happen to find a 1987 penny that still has its original bright red copper color, collectors may pay a premium, especially if the coin has never been circulated. Condition changes everything. Think about this. Imagine two identical pennies. One has been carried through pockets for decades. The other has been safely stored since the day it left the mint. Even though they started life exactly the same, their values today can be dramatically different. That's because collectors chase quality. Professional grading services examine coins under magnification and assign numerical grades from 1 to 70. The closer a coin gets to the perfect grade of MS-70, the rarer it becomes. An ordinary penny in average condition may only be worth 1 cent. A flawless example can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on collector demand. Now let's talk about the mistakes that create the biggest excitement. Off-center strikes are among the easiest to spot. Part of the design is missing because the blank wasn't properly positioned when struck. The more dramatic the off-center strike, while still showing the full date, the more collectors usually become interested. Then there are clipped planchets. These coins are missing part of their edge because the metal blank was cut incorrectly before striking. They're unusual, easy to recognize, and popular with error coin collectors. Another fascinating error is the broad strike. Without the retaining collar holding the coin in place, the metal spreads outward during striking. The result is a wider coin with distorted edges. And then there are dramatic mint errors involving multiple strikes. Imagine Lincoln appearing twice because the coin was struck more than once. These eye-catching errors often become conversation pieces in major collections. But here's the warning. The internet is filled with unbelievable claims saying every 1987 no-mint mark penny is worth hundreds of thousands, or even millions, of dollars. That's simply not true. An ordinary circulated 1987 Philadelphia penny is extremely common and usually worth only 1 cent. The real value comes from rarity. Rare errors. Exceptional preservation. Or certified high-grade examples. That's what collectors pay for. Now here's something even more exciting. Sometimes people unknowingly spend valuable error coins because they never examine them closely. Cashiers receive thousands of coins every week. Banks process countless rolls of pennies. Garage sales. Estate sales. Old piggy banks. Inherited collections. Treasure can appear almost anywhere. Many experienced collectors still search bank rolls because they know amazing discoveries continue to happen. Imagine opening a roll of pennies and spotting something that instantly looks different. Maybe the strike is off-center. Maybe the lettering is doubled. Maybe the color is unusually bright. That single moment of curiosity could lead to an incredible discovery. Now let's answer the question everyone has been waiting for. How much can a 1987 Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin with no mint mark actually be worth? If it's an ordinary circulated coin, the answer is simple. Just 1 cent. If it's a beautiful uncirculated example with blazing red surfaces, it may sell for several dollars or significantly more depending on its certified grade. If it features a genuine and desirable mint error, values can climb into the hundreds or even thousands of dollars. The rarest certified error coins have sold for impressive prices at auction when collectors fiercely compete. But what about the famous $1 million claim? Here's the truth. As of today, there is no verified public record of a normal 1987 no-mint mark Lincoln penny selling for $1 million. Extraordinary prices require extraordinary rarity. Whenever you see headlines claiming every 1987 penny is worth a fortune, take a closer look. Often the story leaves out important details like a unique mint error, an experimental strike, or an exceptionally rare variety. That's why knowledge is your greatest tool. The more you understand about coins, the better your chances of recognizing something special. And remember, every famous coin discovery started with someone paying attention when everyone else walked away. Someone looked a little closer. Someone noticed something unusual. Someone decided not to spend that coin. Could your next handful of change contain the next exciting discovery? Only one way to find out. Take a few minutes tonight. Grab that coin jar sitting on the shelf. Empty your pockets. Look through the pennies hiding in your car, your desk, or your old piggy bank. Check every 1987 penny carefully. Look for missing design details. Look for doubling. Look for off-center strikes. Look for unusual color. Look for anything that doesn't seem ordinary. You never know what you might find. And here's something that makes coin collecting so exciting. Even if you don't discover a rare 1987 penny today, every search teaches you something new. Every coin tells a story. Every date has history. Every minting mistake reminds us that perfection isn't always possible, even at the United States Mint. Sometimes those tiny imperfections become the very reason collectors are willing to pay astonishing prices years later. So before you spend another penny, take one last look. That little copper coin could be completely ordinary. Or it could be the one everyone else missed. If you enjoy uncovering hidden treasures hiding in everyday pocket change, make sure you subscribe and join us for more amazing rare coin discoveries, valuable mint errors, and incredible stories that prove real treasure may already be sitting in your pocket. Have you checked the pennies sitting in your pocket, your coin jar, or that old coffee can in the garage? Because one ordinary-looking 1994 Lincoln penny with no mint mark could be worth far more than 1 cent. And under the right circumstances, rare examples have sold for thousands of dollars. The truth behind the biggest values might surprise you, so don't spend another penny until you hear this. Most people think every 1994 penny is common. After all, millions and millions were made. They pass through cash registers every single day, and hardly anyone gives them a second look. But here's the mystery. A tiny detail, an unusual error, or an exceptional condition can completely change the value of a coin. That's why collectors carefully inspect every Lincoln cent they find. Today we're uncovering everything you need to know about the 1994 Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin with no mint mark. We'll show you what makes certain examples valuable, the mistakes collectors search for, and why some people have made incredible discoveries in ordinary pocket change. And before the end, I'll reveal the rare features that can turn a common penny into one of the most exciting finds in modern coin collecting. Let's start with something many people don't realize. If your 1994 penny has no mint mark, that doesn't automatically make it rare. In fact, no mint mark simply means the coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. That's completely normal for Lincoln cents from that year. Millions were produced without a mint mark. So if no mint mark is common, why are collectors still searching for these coins? Because hidden among those millions are a few extraordinary pieces that stand far above the rest. Imagine receiving change from a grocery store. You toss a penny into your pocket without even looking. Years later, while cleaning out a drawer, you notice something unusual. Maybe the date looks doubled. Maybe Lincoln's portrait appears different. Maybe the coin has an error you've never seen before. That's exactly how some valuable discoveries happen. Now here's where things become exciting. The first thing collectors check is the overall condition. Most 1994 pennies circulated for years. They picked up scratches, stains, dents, and wear. Those are worth only face value in most cases. But a coin that somehow escaped circulation can be a completely different story. Coins with blazing original red color, razor-sharp details, and almost perfect surfaces are known as mint state coins. These are the examples serious collectors compete for. Think about it. Millions were made, but very few survived in perfect condition. Every time someone spent one, dropped one, or carried one in their pocket, tiny scratches appeared. Over time, nearly all lost their pristine appearance. That's why flawless examples become surprisingly valuable. Now here's something even more interesting. Professional grading companies examine coins under powerful magnification. They assign numerical grades ranging from 1 to 70. The closer a coin gets to the perfect grade of MS-70, the rarer it becomes. Even moving from MS-66 to MS-67 can increase the value dramatically. And an MS-68 example. Now you're talking about a coin that can command hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on market demand. That's why collectors always say condition is king. But don't stop there. Some 1994 pennies become valuable for a completely different reason. Mint errors. These mistakes happen during the manufacturing process before the coins ever leave the mint. Most people never notice them. Collectors can't stop looking for them. One of the most famous is a double die. This happens when the coin die receives multiple impressions that don't line up perfectly. The result can create doubling on letters, numbers, or parts of Lincoln's portrait. Sometimes the doubling is easy to spot. Other times you need magnification. Either way, authentic double dies attract tremendous attention. Another fascinating error is the off-center strike. Imagine the blank coin shifts before being struck. Instead of a perfectly centered design, part of the image is missing while another section appears blank. The more dramatic the error without losing the date, the more collectors usually become interested. Then there are broad strikes. Without the retaining collar doing its job, the coin spreads outward when struck. The result is a larger-looking penny with an unusual appearance. People unfamiliar with errors often mistake them for damaged coins. Collectors know better. Here's another possibility. Die cracks. Over time, minting dies begin wearing out. Tiny cracks form inside the die. Every coin struck afterward receives raised lines matching those cracks. Some die cracks are small. Others become dramatic enough to earn colorful nicknames among collectors. And here's one many beginners overlook. Die chips. Small pieces of the die break away, leaving raised blobs of metal on the finished coin. Certain die chips become well-known varieties that collectors actively search for. Now imagine finding one of these in loose change. Most people would spend it without hesitation. A collector might gladly pay much more. But wait. There's another feature that can make a huge difference. Color. Copper coins naturally change over time. Fresh pennies leave the mint with bright red surfaces. As years pass, they become red-brown and eventually brown. Collectors generally value original red coins much higher than brown examples, especially if the surfaces remain untouched. That bright original color tells an important story. It suggests the coin has been carefully preserved. Now let's talk numbers. An ordinary circulated 1994 no-mint mark penny is generally worth only 1 cent. That's the reality. But don't click away. Because this is where things get interesting. A beautiful uncirculated example can sell for several dollars. Higher grade examples may reach dozens or even hundreds of dollars. The finest certified coins have sold for thousands at auction because so few exist in elite condition. That's an incredible jump from just 1 penny. Now you've probably seen videos claiming every 1994 penny is worth $1 million. Let's clear that up. There is no verified record of a regular 1994 no-mint mark Lincoln cent selling for $1 million simply because it lacks a mint mark. The truly extraordinary prices in coin collecting almost always involve exceptionally rare errors, unique varieties, historic coins, or one-of-a-kind discoveries. That's actually good news. Why? Because it means the value depends on what makes your specific coin different. Maybe it's a rare error. Maybe it's preserved in extraordinary condition. Maybe it has a variety collectors have been hunting for. You'll never know unless you check. Here's exactly what you should inspect. Look closely at the date. Check every letter in Liberty. Examine In God We Trust. Study Lincoln's face. Inspect both sides under bright light. Look around the rim. Search for doubling. Watch for unusual shapes. Compare your coin with verified examples online or in trusted coin guides. If something looks unusual, don't clean it. That's one of the biggest mistakes beginners make. They think shiny equals valuable. Actually, cleaning usually reduces collector value. Original surfaces matter. Leave the coin exactly as you found it. If you believe you found an important error or an exceptionally high-grade example, consider submitting it to a professional grading service. Authentication can make all the difference. Imagine discovering that a penny sitting unnoticed for decades is actually worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. That possibility is exactly why millions of Americans still search through pocket change today. Every coin has a story. Most are ordinary. Some are remarkable. And a tiny handful become legendary. So before you ignore another 1994 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, take a closer look. It may simply be worth 1 cent. Or it might have the rare combination of condition, error, and collector demand that transforms it into an exciting treasure. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever found a strange-looking penny in your pocket change? Do you have jars of old coins waiting to be searched? Let everyone know in the comments because your discovery could inspire someone else to check their own collection. And remember, some of the most valuable coins ever found weren't discovered by professional treasure hunters. They were hiding in ordinary places, waiting for someone curious enough to take a closer look. So keep searching, keep learning, and never underestimate the smallest coin in your pocket. If you enjoyed uncovering the hidden secrets behind the 1994 Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin with no mint mark, make sure you subscribe and come back for more stories about rare coins, valuable errors, and everyday pocket change that could be worth far more than you ever imagined.